This video is brought to you by the Wonderful 101, exclusively on Wii U.
What's happening, everybody? Ryan McCaffrey with IGN, joined by my good friend, Mr. Bioshock, Andrew Goldfarb.
Hey, Ryan.
But we're talking about a different game today, and that is Assassin's Creed 4. This is a game, Goldfarb, that it's a big series. 3 was bigger than ever, despite the fact that it had some real mixed reactions in the office. But with 4, it's open world. It's like right from the get-go, just jump in, do whatever you want, and it's pirate open sea. So it's been like, oh, I don't want to play the series anymore, but 4 just keeps pulling me back in.
Yeah, it's funny because Assassin's Creed, even for the people who detract, like people who didn't like 2, got really excited for 3 because Connor looks so different. And I think we're seeing that again, that even some of the people who weren't crazy about 3, it pulls you back in because the reveals are so good and Edward is so interesting. But playing 4, like, I'm so happy with it. Like what I played with it, I thought was really interesting.
So yeah, you got to play it at in Germany at the Gamescom show. And you played single player, correct?
Played single player on PS4. Yeah.
What did you like? I played on PS4 as well, just last week. We'll talk about that in a second. So what were your thoughts on what you played?
So I played a little of everything other than the hub city. I wasn't in one of the big core story cities, but I saw a little bit of everything else. So we saw one of the little side islands where it's like you can recruit people, get them into your crew. You have little like almost like fetch questy stuff, like go and get like this thing and bring it back to the island. The stuff I really liked were the more dynamic things in and under the water. So I thought it was cool.
Tell me about the under the water stuff, because I didn't get to see that. And it's funny, I'm going to come back to fetch quest too. That's funny you chose that term.
So two things, like when you're sailing on the water, and the ship controls feel so good, by the way.
Yes,
I thought controlling
the
ship is like
completely
exponentially better than what we had in 3. But you have these dynamic events where you can see there's like a ship that crashed or whatever,
right? And
you can save people from that, which I thought was cool. But then you can also anchor and dive under the water, and I don't know, it's really cool to me. Like I've always been kind of weirded out by underwater stuff, but like it's always.
Are you hydrophobic, my friend?
A little bit, yeah. It's like I've always had this weird thing where it's like I hold my breath when the character's underwater. Like I've always been that guy, and so the underwater stuff I thought was really cool because it's very tense. Because like the best underwater missions, like you're constantly worried about breath. So you come down in a diving bell, and you can return to these little structures to make sure you get your breath. But at the same time, there's like collectibles and like. There are like piranhas and sharks you have to be careful of, and it was just it's number 1 beautiful, and number 2 just a really cool way to like shake up exploration.
So are you gonna, was there anything you weren't super fond of, or are you gonna leave it to me to be negative Nancy here?
I mean, in general, right, like I need to see something that is different than regular Assassin's Creed. The stuff on land, the climbing, the kill this guy missions still felt basically the same as AC always had. It's like, it's up to you and what you think of the series, if that's a good or bad thing, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see it just last week, all-day event, single player and multiplayer. We'll get to multiplayer in a second, but yeah, I mean, I had a sort of Jekyll and Hyde reaction to single player. A lot of the sort of core single player story stuff just felt very fetch questy to me, to use the exact term you used. You know, I had to recruit like 14 pirates for a crew for my ship, and in this open town, it was just, they'd be getting into fights, and you just go help save them from the red coat guys, and they'll be like, okay, Captain, I'll totally join you. And
I mean, were those separate? Was each one its own mission, or was the idea like get these 14 guys?
No, it was all one thing. You just had to wander around and find them all, and it's. I mean, the one interesting one, there was one where you had to save a guy, or you could. He was actually being hanged, and so you could come up from behind and shoot the rope and then take out the guys. So that was interesting, but yeah, it's feeling a little too fetch questy to me until you get to the open water stuff, like you were talking about. I did the ship combat stuff as well, and it's just so much fun. It's first of all, the ocean looks amazing. Like we just saw great waves rendered in GTA, and this sort of takes it to a new level, where the waves just, it feels like you're actually sailing the ocean. As you mentioned, the controls they're not too on a dime, but they're not too sim enough where, you know, it's just enough where it feels fun and you feel like you have good control.
I agree with that.
Over your ship.
The problem with 3 was you had one extreme or the other. You either felt like you had no control over this like lumbering gigantic thing, and you'd be pulling all the way to the left, and it would like slowly turn.
Yeah, there was.
Here you have the multiple speeds that I think help it out a lot.
Right, 3 speeds. So there's like, well, besides stop, there's slow, medium, and fast travel.
And you have less precision with the fastest speed, but you have more precision with the slowest. It makes sense. It's also, the firing feels really really good. They added more than just like heavy weapon, light weapon. Like,
correct.
You have a few different options, which, yeah, I think the ship combat feels really good.
It does, and it's, you know, you have to do the dance with the other ship to try and get position on them to get a better angle. And I really like, there was the sort of ultimate battle in the sequence I played, which was sequence 3 in the game, was it was a bad rainstorm, huge waves. There'd actually be these rogue waves, like giant waves that would come that you'd have to take head on, or your ship, if you took them broadside, you'd take damage. Just a driving rainstorm, and you had to take out this giant super Navy vessel. So that was really good. And then,
did you try boarding the other ship at all? I thought that was
did.
Really fun
that
too,
was really great too. And you could fire the cannon and take guys out from your ship before you hopped on, and then just stab a few guys before ultimately taking control.
And that's the thing, that stuff is so fun. Like, I don't disagree with you at all. From what I played on land, it does feel, it's like the best and worst of Assassin's Creed, I think. I
agree.
It's like, you have the climbing, the parkour still feels really good, obviously, because they're not going to mess with the winning formula. But I agree that, like, the quests I've seen aren't anything so captivating and different, but I do think they're probably keeping the story quests close to the vest, you know?
And then finally, multiplayer. You got to play a bit of it as well?
No,
you did not. Okay,
seen,
so I'll tell you a little bit, real quick, multiplayer. I saw several modes. There was Artifact, which is basically capture the flag. That was a little, I don't know, or maybe it was just the people I was playing with. It's just, you run back and forth, and there didn't seem to be too much to that. The cool part was there were, of course, NPCs everywhere. In all the multiplayer modes, there are NPCs that are just sort of milling about, and the idea is you try to blend in with them. So you could guard your flag, and then when someone would come up for your flag, just shank them. But
I thought you were going to actually stab me there.
So I've got a knife right here, just in case. But so that was all right. But Domination was one of the two I really liked, where it was, you control one of 3 zones, and that was one where I had a great time. You just sort of milling about in the area, walking around, stealth in plain sight. And I would actually hold left trigger, or L2 since I was on a PS4, and just sit on a bench and then wait for some idiot to come running up to try and capture the point, and then I'd just get up and stab him. So that was great mode. That was great mode.
That one sounds cool, and Greg was telling me something about like almost like a hide and go seek style thing.
Manhunt.
Okay.
Yeah, that is my notes here. It's basically hide and go seek. Your goal is to blend in, and the other team has to try and pick you out and find you. So you'd be walking, you might just be hanging out, and all of a sudden a guy would just come up and stab you.
I keep flinching every time you stab me.
See, that's why this gameplay mechanic works. So overall, I'm not over the moon about Assassin's Creed 4 so far, and this was probably the last major hands-on we're going to get, because the game is out. This is worth the end. We're about 30 days to go.
About a month, yeah.
Before Assassin's
and that
Creed
means
4
it's probably
for current
done.
gen, obviously.
That means they're probably insert at this point.
So I like it. I don't love it right now, but I'm more curious to play it. I haven't written it off yet by any means, but I feel better about it than 3. But for me, that's not saying too much.
The question is it sustainable, right? Because I felt really good going into 3, and then I think 3 had some pretty big problems that were larger, that were like Connor as a character and bigger things that you only got once you played more of it. So I agree. We have to wait and see, but like what I've played, I'm actually higher on than I expected to be, I think.
Good. Well, for more on Assassin's Creed 4, of course, have the current gen review coming up, followed shortly thereafter by PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. You are already in the right place. Where's that, Andrew?
IGN.com.
Correct.